going and digressing for a bit, I mean, she's also a mother. She's got
Yes.
a couple of daughters and a son and so on, and we could talk about that a little bit, but maybe we'll do that another time, because what I really want to get into was another part, and I forgot it. I started talking about her being a mother, and that got me into all other things like horses and the Wickaninnishin, and because your daughter's still over at the Wickaninnishin.
My daughter's, yes.
Yeah, with world famous on the over on Long Beach.
Oh, fabulous
How is Christine?
property.
Is she still over there now?
Yes, she's still there, and she's the operations manager. So she works directly for the McDermotts, the family that own it. And she pretty well runs the place.
You keep on talking while I try and remember what I was going to talk about.
She pretty well runs the place. I've been really fortunate. Yeah, I have 3 kids.
Stephen's over in Coombs or Parksville, someplace
He's in
there.
Parksville, and he's doing very well. He has 2 children, which means they're grandchildren. I said that quick.
Didn't you go back for a granddaughter's wedding or something?
And then my
this summer?
granddaughter just got married this past August, and
If he's Debbie's
we had a
daughter.
whole family reunion. It was quite fun. And my daughter's back there, and she has a trucking company,
That's
but her love, of course, is all her horses. So she has something like 9 horses, and she rides. But they're mostly they're her family. They're her pets.
They're her pets.
Yeah. So the horses are her thing, and trucks are her thing. I was coming back from Variety on the weekend, and someone was, because we work long hours, we are allowed to have drivers to bring us back and forth so that we're not exhausted and then getting in a car and then driving home and then getting up early the next morning. So Variety are wonderful with the volunteers. They provide drivers. So this one driver who's driven me a couple of times is working with a trucking company. So we get in the car, idle chatter, and he said, so he's talking about his business, and I said something to him about, well, do you haul pipe? And he said, pardon? I said, do you haul pipe? Then I asked him another question, something to do with trucking, and he said to me, what do you know about trucking? How do you know all about trucking? You're a broadcaster. What are you talking about trucking? And I said, well, my daughter has a trucking company, and I was doing their marketing plan, and so she told me everything I needed to know about trucking. So she phones me today, and she says, you know that guy that was your driver on the weekend?
He phoned?
He phoned, and he's got business. He wants to do business with me. Oh, my God, what a small, wonderful world.
It's wonderful, yeah.
So whether she will or not, I mean,
every
it
now
depends.
and then, things like that make it worthwhile having, continuing our existence.
Well,
it's
if
not
you
quite
don't-
as depressing as the
Connect.
bureaucratic.
You know that I drive around with vehicles with signs on them, and there's been a couple of times when, I think there was one up at Princeton one time when you saw us go by and tried to
Do a
catch up
U-turn
or
and
something.
catch up.
There's been a couple of times when we passed, and I still get calls, people telling me they saw me in New York or they saw me in Montreal or something with the motorhome, and that's 12 years ago, and
Yeah.
it's fun.
Now, have you had any calls from Mitchell's trip?
We
Because
did
he just did a
No, we
cross
did.
Canada
Yeah, Mitchell
and
drove
across
to
the
New
U.S.
York and Montreal and Quebec City this
Yeah.
last year. I
With
haven't
the signs
had
on.
I haven't had a single call from that.
We were driving too fast.
But we did. He was driving so
Driving
fast.
so
He
fast.
peeled the cover off the top of the roof on the white Cadillac, if you can imagine. But going around in circles on that, you also, I'm trying to remember, wasn't the status of women that anointed you with another?
I'm the chair of chair of the selection committee for the Governor General's Persons Award.
Yeah.
The Persons Award is an award that's given by the Governor General to 5 women from the country, 6 actually. One is youth, but 5 women who've made a significant contribution to the advancement of women in Canada. And each year we get together and we have loads and loads of nominations that come in from all over the country. And we get the nominations and we go through them. We are a selection committee of 5. One is a senator, one is a member of parliament, and then me and a couple of other people. And so we get together in Ottawa and we go through all of the nominations, and then It's a long process for 2 or 3 days because you have to make sure you've got the right person, because you don't want to send someone to government house that isn't just the right type of people, and not because it's government house, but because we make a really conscious effort to try to get the right women.
Well, you want somebody that deserves it.
So we don't allow. I mean, we don't consider political lines. We don't consider ethnicity. It's the woman who has made, or the 5 women who have made the most significant contribution to women in Canada.
And this is done every year.
And it's done every year. It's kind of almost like the Women of Distinction Awards that you
Yeah.
see across the country. Oh, I was one of them too.
I know you were.
So it's kind of like that.
Well, Richard, when did you meet Shirley first?
Well, not long after I met you, but in the
while.
in the mid to late 80s.
So you've known her now for 25 years anyway, give or take.
Well, 20 anyway.
20 years anyway. How much of this did you know?
Not very much. Not very much.
Don't talk about it.
Well, but it's something that the
I-
world,
He found out a couple of weeks ago that I like music.
he likes classical music.
Classical
I
music.
love
I
classical
interviewed him, and
music.
he was talking about all this stuff, Symphony Number 9 in D major, and all the rest of that sort of a D minor. Anyway, he's given me all this
Toccata and
stuff.
fugue in D minor. Bach.
What I love about classical music is on Sunday mornings, I love to turn
Have you
on.
signed this?
Not yet,
Okay.
because I'm too busy
won't-
talking.
That's
I can't
good.
write anything.
That's fine. That's good.
Wait. It's on Sunday morning at about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. I love to put on my classical records and turn the volume so high that no one around can hear anything else other than classical music. And it's just me, and I live in my own home, so I don't disturb anybody else. But for a good hour, hour and a half, that's the way I come down from all of the
weeks.
stuff that I'm doing, and I
Yep.
don't think of anything but just music, if I can get away with doing
What's your
it.
favorite? What?
I like
type-
Tchaikovsky. I like
Tchaikovsky, okay.
Mozart. I like Beethoven. I like
So
Beethoven.
the classics.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the 1812 Overture
Oh,
is
yes.
really good. I have to have that.
Yes.
We-
Complete with canon.
Wakes me up. Yeah.
Real canon.
We went we went past the Orphans Fund, because the Orphans Fund raises $1 million a year type of thing, and
$1.2 million this year.
I have known, as I've said, Richard, who has a nephew who was rewarded from the Variety Club, and I also know another lady who received an award or financial donation to look after a child with Dr. Swingle. What does the Orphans Fund do now? Because when I grew up, when I was 5 years old, there was an orphanage in the next block from where I lived in Winnipeg. It was right across the street from the legislative buildings in Winnipeg. And there was an orphanage, and there was likely 34 poor kids who didn't have a mommy and daddy. And we just had this story about the church in Idaho where the people were taking kids who, most of them weren't orphans, it turns out, across the border into
Traffic.
from Haiti.
Dominican Republic. Well, I don't think they even come close to being.
Traffickers, imagine.
Well,
I don't
Maybe.
think that they're going to turn out to be traffickers, because they see.
Well, no, I don't think so either.
But it was stupid what they were doing.
Yeah.
It was just plain
Of course, it was stupid. They
and
should have been paying the
places like-
government money, and then they could have had them.
Yes, and places like Haiti have orphanages, and there's orphanages all over Africa and so on. What does the Orphans Fund do?
There are no longer orphans in the province of British Columbia as there once was. The CKNW Orphans Fund was established because there was an orphanage in New Westminster.
That's right,
right.
but it doesn't exist anymore.
It does not exist anymore.
So-
And when the station started, it was a brand new station in New Westminster, and as salespeople and media types, they wanted to sort of let the community know that they were doing something in the community. And so, the very best thing that they ever did was start funding the orphanage. And then, as governments changed and as society changed, children were no longer placed in orphanages.
Placed in foster homes now.
Yeah, they're placed in foster homes and things of that nature. With the exception of, I guess, SOS Children's Village, because children are placed, children go there as well with the SOS Children's Village, and they stay there, and then the parents are the ones that move around, not the kids. I think that's very stable because it allows a kid
Yep.
to go from, age 7 up to age 15 and stay in the same household, which is what
Makes a
basically
big difference,
everybody
I'm
else
sure.
does.
Yeah.
But anyway, there are no orphans as such.